Ah, hello. So, two things. First of all, yes, I am alive. Second thing is Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 is out, and a big part of this is that we can now gain access, or we can look at the access point to the new Dogtown area in Pacifica. This is quite surprising actually, but there is a lot more excitement around these places because, you know, we're looking at something new. We're looking at the new Pacifica and the new area for Dogtown. Anyway, the 2.0 update has completely broken mods, so I no longer have access to NoClip. But this didn't stop my excitement because, you know, the whole point of this channel mostly was discovering Cyberpunk content, unused content. You know, just because I can't NoClip doesn't mean I'm still not interested in trying to get an early glimpse at this area. So this is pretty much what this entire video is going to be about, showing a good, 15 minutes or so of me spending 3 to 4 hours trying to break into this unusable area without the help of mods. This has a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but hopefully it's interesting, and well, I'll see you tomorrow when the DLC actually comes out. Alright, so here I'm just trying to tackle the main entrance, right? The dumbest idea possible. The fucking front door's always going to be the strongest. I tried jumping on this little metal plate, hoping that it would give me some kind of height advantage, but the whole goddamn thing about Cyberpunk and trying to get out of bounds is barbed wire just everywhere. Look at this, I'm just getting bullied. So I get onto this platform and, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can hop on one of these steel beams right here. I go for the grab, don't get the grab, obviously, and, this is just a little bit of reevaluation, just kind of looking at things, right? Trying to work out if I can jump from something to something else. So I'm basically looking for anywhere that does not have barbed wire. And I go for this jump here, and I notice that this goddamn metal beam, you can land on it. It doesn't push you off, there's not some bullshit barrier. So luckily I managed to hop on this, and look, now it looks like, okay, you can hop on this roof right here and kind of look into Dogtown. And I'm just having a little fucking song and dance right now. As always, just invisible barriers. But, never back down, never what. So we go again, and same thing. We're going to hop on this steel beam, and then we're going to hop over to the very far steel beam. So if we get all the way over here, right to the edge, using this one, and then try and kind of, jump onto the next one. Try and jump onto literally anything. But as you can see, I hit a goddamn invisible barrier. Alright, so I had a fumble around with the, the kind of exterior entrance. But man, something told me that there was going to be a way into this place. By just using the goddamn front door. And this is actually Dogtown inside of here. You can't goddamn get to it yet. But this time round, we get a little bit lucky and actually manage to get some height and some kind of look into it. This shit takes me back to like COD 4, right? Like all the out of map glitches on COD 4, little private match. Yeah, look at this shit. I don't know how I managed to do this, but I hop onto this vent here and then manage to get up on here. There's an invisible wall right on this corner, but man, I'm shitting myself. I got like adrenaline pumping through my goddamn body. I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. This is the one. I'm just very slowly edging along, whilst edging myself as well in the process. And the same thing, invisible wall here. So if there's some kind of way to get from here over this fence or onto something else, this might be it. So, got to pull up my pants, go for a double jump, but it's just too high. It's way too high. I'm thinking like maybe we can jump all the way over to the other side. And I'm trying all my luck here. I'm like, oh, maybe just if I try hard enough, I'll just be able to fucking blow through the goddamn fence. But no, it's too difficult. This would be too easy, wouldn't it? That'd be way too easy. Invisible walls just everywhere. And this is when my brain starts tickling a little bit. I'm like, okay, got a nice bridge here. We've got some of these like balconies that go kind of all the way around the building. Maybe I can hop on top of this and then jump over to this, right? But here there's a barrier. So at this point in time, I'm pretty disheveled, right? I've gone round the entire barricade, you know, this big Berlin Wall that surrounds Dogtown, just looking for any kind of morsel of entry, but it's so goddamn barricaded. This shit is just locked down beyond comprehension. And I get to this little bridge that takes you into kind of like, you know, the middle of Night City, and I'm thinking, alright, maybe this is doable. This is kind of connecting to this big Berlin Wall. Maybe I can kind of hop on top of this and then hop over. So I clean up around here, and I'm now thinking, okay, these rocks are looking quite inviting. Almost like they've kind of, you know, asked me out to dinner. Straight away hit a barrier though, and you know, I'm just spamming these quick saves just in case I get to a nice location and you know, need to reload. But all along here you get weird parts which don't have barriers. You can kind of like awkwardly juggle on the edge, but trying to maintain this is just absolutely impossible. And this is kind of like the front entrance as well. This would just be too simple. You know, CDPR are not that silly, but I manage somehow to clamber onto the edge of this building. And even though there's no barbed wire, there is of course a big, fat, invisible barrier. And this is one of those cases where if you let go of W, you stop walking, you just immediately fall off. However, this was a nice location. I feel like this could potentially birth some opportunity, so we run it back. Unfortunately, you can see that the save just straight up kicks me off the top of that building, and then of course I get bullied by some barbed wire. You know, where did that even come from? So anyway, I'm kind of looking over to the other side of the bridge, and look, this is all it's just barricades. It's barbed wire. I'm not even going to attempt to try the opposite side because it looks terrible. Okay, so this is where things start to get interesting and at the same time just downright depressing. Basically, I've given up with all of the main entrances to Dogtown, and instead I'm trying to get onto this encart rail, which does actually go into the stadium. So my logic is, okay, if I can make this big ass jump over to this encart track, then maybe I can just walk into the stadium. And this seems like a pretty decent plan to me, because I know from experience that you can get on these encart tracks. They have collision, but this jump is just is too painful for my little heart to take. So I think this jump is pretty much a write-off, just because of the insane amount of distance that you have to travel. So right now I'm thinking, okay, let's follow this encart track from a point where we can actually get onto it, and then kind of just follow it all the way up until we can eventually just climb into the stadium. It seems like a foolproof plan, and I'm actually very confident that this plays out. So here looks like quite a nice opportunity to plant ourselves on this piece of metal. These lampposts are pretty large. One of them is nicely positioned right underneath the track. So the thinking here is, okay, let's rob this poor blue-haired lady of her van and use this as some kind of instrument to climbing on this public piece of service. So we park this up underneath, kind of hoping this is enough, but look at that, that's way too high up. So this is not possible. But then I see, Dan, right in front of your goddamn eyes is such a beautiful climbable fence. This can probably be used, right? We can walk along and we can grab that lamppost. We go for a grab and manage to get onto this lamppost, and the game kind of shits itself for a bit and saves for like way too long. So I'm a bit more concerned with it saving. Thankfully we managed to get it. We go for the jump and there's a goddamn invisible barrier. And I never remember encart tracks having barriers, so, you know, my heart sunk a little bit. I was like, well, maybe CDPR, because they know that encart is completely obsolete, maybe they're just gonna just gut it, right? But again, the wise words of Mr. St. Nick, you can't give up with these kind of things. So what we do is go for another jump, this time onto the track itself, get a nice double jump, and look at that, straight on. I'm pretty excited at the moment, you know, I'm kind of like kicking my feet a little bit, I'm blushing, I'm smiling, I'm like, yeah, this is it, this is the one, this is how we get into Dogtown. And now we begin the journey of crossing this encart track all the way to the stadium without preferably getting smacked into a puddle of mush by one of these randomly spawning encarts. So here we're starting to get a real nice view of Dogtown, or at least the entrance to Dogtown. We can see all of the rubble from the stadium, which has now been added. You got some nice views, and this entire bit here, all of these blue metal panels were not there before. This is the disused encart station. And would you look at that, there's a goddamn barrier right there. Literally, the front fucking door is blocked off. But I feel like this is moldable, right? Look, we've got all of these walls taking us along the edge of the stadium, and maybe that jump would work, but no. And it's such a high point as well that as soon as we fall, we're either going to die or take way too much damage. So we got to reload that. But this, I would say, is the closest we've got to getting into Dogtown. And I've explored this place before, this disused encart station with no clip, and all kind of things are going through my head right now. Maybe we can get on the train. If we're on the train, maybe that can bypass the barrier, it can take us straight in there. But here we get some nice collision on this fence, and look, we're millimeters away from breaking into this area. I'm pulling all the stops out here. This corner seems like a nice bet, but again, we're still encountering these barriers. Managed to get on it, but just like everywhere, it's just blocked off. So right now, this is still a nice view though. This is the new stadium. This is how it's going to look from the exterior. And look, I'm well aware that I'm not going to be able to get in here and instantly see some kind of DLC area. You know, like, I know it's not in the game. It's not about that. It's more trying to get any kind of morsel of unseen content before it's due to come out. You know, that's my shit, that's where I get my kicks from. So right now I'm kind of cutting my losses, thinking, well, this thing which I thought would work is not going to work. So I remember that this disused encart station has a cool little entranceway which I've actually gone and explored with no clipping, you know, in the golden ages of Cyberpunk. So right around here is where the encart track goes in through the other way, right? And this track is interesting because it actually doesn't exist. It exists here, but once it goes around the corner, it just kind of cuts off in midair. Presumably, this probably would have been a part of something substantial. So yeah, here we go for a little jump. And managed to get some kind of collision. This is the disused station, which you can see, and encountering some awkward barriers on this little corner bit. Nearly whiff it, but managed to get some decent height up here. Again, this is good, right? This wall's way too high, so that's unfortunately not going to be doable. And this encart track is right next to us, but would you look at that, there's a goddamn barrier. So at this point in time, the kind of, you know, cozy feeling of doing COD 4 private match out of map glitches is kind of fading a little bit. I'm more upset at this point that I've been spending nearly 3 hours trying to break into this place, and every possible nook and cranny is accounted for. The last ditch attempt to get into this place is to follow this encart track and try and gain an entrance, right? To try and get onto this track in the hopes of being able to, just like before, walk across it, and maybe not just walk in through the front door, but at least get somewhere that's close enough to do a little bit more parkour. And the hope is kind of returning a little bit as I get closer and closer. I then see that jump's not possible, but this big X looking metal box of danger looks nice and it looks friendly. I even see it has my name written on it if you look close enough, and lo and behold, we're here right next to the track. So right, simple, right? Barrier, okay, no stress, we'll try getting on here. Barrier, but a little tinchy tiny bit of collision. So upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that this part of the track would be definitely easier to get on. It's a lot closer to the ground. You don't have to do some, insane parkour to even get to the jumping spot. And we can kind of get onto this, and we're up. I'm absolutely jumping for joy at this point until yet again there's a barrier, this time on the track, which is weird because a lot of these encart tracks don't have barriers, and if they do, it's something which you can usually double jump onto. But again, don't lose hope. And look, you can see the track ends here, so there's no way that we can, go further back or anything. This is really like the last ditch attempt at trying to work this, and it kind of works. Very awkwardly and stress-inducing method right here, which is working, and I'm managing just about to stay on this track. And with the stadium in sight, I think that this could be the one. It will take a while, but it's doable. So just plodding along, hoping for the best. Spirits are high. Things feel like they're getting somewhere. Little hiccup there, but we're still going. And then I double jump too hard. I panic. Full of panic right now, and I get pushed off. And I get very fucking sad. So unfortunately, after nearly 4 hours of trying to get into this place, I have to cut my losses and assume that it cannot be done. But regardless, I hope it showed you that a good amount of exploration is still possible in Cyberpunk 2077, even if you're not blessed with the lovely cyber engine tweaks. And of course, once mods start becoming usable again, I will of course be going back to Dogtown. I'll be going back to these new areas which you couldn't access before and fully exploring them without collision. We can get a good sizable chunk of content once this DLC drops. I'm very excited. So like I said in the intro, I will be seeing you tomorrow for a little bit of Phantom Liberty. Cheers guys, and take care.